In our next conversation, we will talk about the Collaborative on Citizen-Generated Data, launched officially at the forum yesterday. Francesca, first please tell us what citizen-generated data is.
Well, citizens contribute to data in many different ways. From the traditional data collection program, when we share our data through household surveys, censuses, administrative data, but also there are other ways in which citizens can really help in the production of data through civil society organizations, data collection, or other ways citizens can produce data and then communicate them through.
What kind of data?
We have prioritized in this initial discussion, really trying to fill gaps in relation to the more vulnerable groups. Those are the ones that are often invisible in the more traditional, conventional data collection program.
So gaps in the official statistics?
Yes.
That's
So there are civil society organizations that deal and work in communities, in specific communities like people with disability, older people, migrants, or other parts of the population that might remain marginalized for different reasons. And so that's the effort they're making, collecting data through that community level, through civil society organizations, and then bring those data and integrate them with official statistics. So that is one aspect, right? And there are many different approaches. You can bring data from civil society to national statistical systems. You can also design approaches and data collection efforts with national statistical offices. So establish a
collaborating with them.
Exactly. So establish a partnership from the start between civil society and national statistical offices. But you can also have a third type of approach, and that is civil society organizations working on data on their own, and then using those data in a sort of almost like a parallel track from official statistics. And in some cases, those data also have a value in the sense that they can help fill the data gaps, they can help highlight some aspects that we're not so well aware of, or can even in some settings help uncover some inequalities or issues that are not really included in the policy priorities of the country, or in the way that the data collection and the measurements are defined from the start in the official statistical system. So that many different levels and many different approaches and many different types, I would say, right? We're still in the process of finding a common language on how we approach this field and developing a framework for us to work and to bring these different types of approaches in a way that is systematic and can really be used effectively.
So the significance of this is to shedding light on areas that may have been missing or underreported in official statistics.
I would say that's the most important aspect, but there are many more. I would also like to stress the fact that by engaging citizens in many different ways throughout the data collection process, but I would say throughout the whole data value chain, is important because you ensure the data are relevant, the citizens feel the ownership of the data, and also, of course, you improve the use of data, right? So it's a whole process. And someone in one of the sessions the other day was talking about, who really owns the data. And data are for citizens. Ultimately, all data are for all of us to make informed decisions, right? So there is a lot more than just improving the data availability or filling the data gaps. But what we're doing now is really focusing, taking this more systematic approach. By the way, this was also agreed by the UN Statistical Commission, that is the intergovernmental body that brings together all the representatives of the official statistical system of national statistical offices around the world. So they also acknowledge the fact that some of this data are useful and important to fill data gaps, and they want to advance this agenda.
So is this a recent phenomenon, citizen-generated data? Its importance has grown in recent years, is that right?
The attention around this area started, I would say, years ago. It depends on how you define citizen-generated data, right? But this important link between what civil society organizations can do, and national and the official statistical system has always been there. But I would say now we can really talk about it in a more systematic way, and we can, by bringing together these different parts of the data ecosystem, we can find a way to really make it happen and really have those practical solutions that can be adopted more broadly, right, in countries, and then use those data more effectively.
So what is this new collaborative? Who is collaborating with whom, and what will it achieve?
So the collaborative really started as a collaboration in the beginning between a few key actors, I would say, that the colleagues that were at the launch of this from the Danish Institute for Human Rights, the International Civil Society Center, our division, the UN Statistics Division. We had a meeting in Bangkok in November 2022, where we invited representatives of the interagency and expert group on SDG indicators that are, of course, very interested in filling those gaps, right, and populating the data that they, for those indicators, but in general, data for the implementation of the SDGs. And we brought together other international agencies like UN Women, the World Bank, representative of other civil society organizations that work very actively in the data space, like the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, the SDSN Trends, that is the group that within SDSN that deals with the data work. So we had a number, we had representative of civil society organizations from a number of countries, just to name a few: Vietnam, India, Italy. We had academia. So it's really finding the intersection across this, what the academia can do and can offer, what civil society can do, and what the national statistical offices can do when they come together, with, of course, the support of international organizations. And in our case, the Statistics Division, we can help from the point of view of the development of the normative work, from bringing whatever we develop into the process of the official statistical community through the UN Statistical Commission.
So is the idea that all these people collaborating will come up with best practices, methodologies that you will then promote to different governments and statistical bodies?
Eventually, yes, the idea is to have those best practices, and what the Commission asked us to do also is to work on this framework that will also help us advance the work. We're statisticians, so we work always in a very systematic manner, and then we'll offer guidance to countries and to civil society, but there will also have to be a lot in terms of building the capacity on both sides, like
of both the NGOs and
for
the
civil society
statistics offices.
and for also, in some cases, for national statistical offices. And I would say through the collaborative, the hope is really that we can identify some good practices and that can be shared across a number of countries.